these past couple weeks, but it's because I was secretly training to be the pitcher for the 19th inning if game three were to go to the 19th inning. So, welcome back to the dugout. I am your host, Joseph Silva. And yeah, we're going to talk about game three. We're going to talk about this World Series in general, both what happened and what to expect going forward here, because last night's game, I know this term has been thrown around a lot this postseason, but truly was one of the greatest World Series games of all time. And of course, my Dodgers came out on top. But before we get started, if you are enjoying the content here, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Plate Network. I joined 2 years ago. My Dodgers have made the World Series both years. Phil's Lakers have Lukas Doncic. Ant-Man's Thunder have an NBA championship. Subscribing to this channel, or even being part of the community, is a great way to bring success to your teams. Or you can always not do it and risk it, but I'm not taking that chance. And of course, I see Ant-Man himself in the chat with the Go Dodgers, and absolutely Go Dodgers. And let's just get into it here, because game three started off as an absolute kind of barn burner, as the Dodgers took the lead very quickly on solo shots from Teoscar and Shohei. But Tyler Glasnow, he pitched well, but I was telling my dad before we got into this game that it looked like the Dodgers were probably going to lose this one, because the Blue Jays have been feasting on forcing fastballs all postseason long. You kind of saw that a little bit in game one when they got fastballs to hit, especially because, Snell and a lot of the relievers just could not land their breaking stuff at all in game one. So, when you have a pitcher who primarily is curveball or fastball up, curveball down, you kind of see a little bit of a problem here. And surprisingly, the fastball played, I don't want to say really well, but it performed better than I expected it to. But the curveball, it's a good curveball, don't get me wrong, but hitters know what to expect with it now. And he hung one of the worst curveballs I have ever seen to Alejandro Kirk. Smashed it, 3-2 Toronto. A lot of defensive miscues in that inning. It was brutal to see. But the Dodgers, they end up coming back, and we end up 5-5 after Shohei Ohtani's opposite field game-tying home run in the seventh. And then no one showed up for offense after that. And I don't want to say it was an offensive ineptitude or, like a lot of people were saying they were trying to play the hero. I think, both pitching staffs were very good despite their reputation coming in. The bullpens performed excellent in this game. Will Klein is forever a Dodger legend in my heart, and I will hear nothing to the contrary about this. But, him, Eric Lauer, the one out Clayton Kershaw got, which I'm glad we got the Will Klein game, but looking back in retrospect, I think Dave Roberts kind of wanted to use Kershaw a little bit more, given how many innings that him and Henriquez had to eat out of this bullpen. Absolutely gas. But, Freddie Freeman, he does it for a reason. First player in World Series history with not one, but 2 walk-off home runs. He is a dog in the postseason. He just barely missed his second career walk-off grand slam in the World Series, but he came back and redeemed himself to almost the same part of the ballpark here, and Dodgers win an all-timer. For me, I think 2016 Game 7 is always going to be the greatest World Series game ever played, given the stakes, the drama, and just everything about it felt so cinematic. After that, it's Game 7 or Game 5 of the 2017 World Series. And then, as Anthony says, a top 10 player of all time, Freddie Freeman. I wouldn't go there, but maybe a top 10 World Series performer of all time, because he absolutely mashes in the Fall Classic. He ends this one, which is an instant classic. But the big takeaways for me in this one is I think Toronto is just not going to pitch to Shohei Ohtani anymore. Yes, we saw, the 3 intentional walks he got in this one. We saw the fact that, when they actually did have to pitch to him, every pitch kind of ended up in Orange County. Like they were nowhere close to Ohtani whatsoever. And which really is both a blessing and a curse, because Mookie Betts just did not come through at all in Game 3 and has struggled a little bit this postseason. He's not, the infamous choker he was known to be, but he's still not had a great postseason by any means. Freddie Freeman, let's see if this home run gets him going. He's starting to hit the ball, a little deeper. But really, for Freddie, it's more of, hit the ball the other way, the line drives. That's more what I look for in Freddie Freeman. That's not necessarily back, but I think he's a lot closer. So it does make sense to just give Ohtani nothing to hit. But for the Dodgers pitching wise, and I think this one shocked me a little bit here, the Blue Jays could not touch four-seam fastballs for the most part in game 3. I don't know if it's because they've been just fed a steady diet of sliders and curveballs and splitters and changeups and everything that's been coming out of this Dodger bullpen. But it's starting to become a little bit of a problem here because Shohei Ohtani is a very smart pitcher. I think he's going to come at you with his fastball. Blake Snell, not necessarily a great fastball pitcher, but I think if he sees that and picks up on it, which I think he has, you are absolutely in for a bad day here, because if he could command it, unlike game 1, Toronto is in a lot of trouble. Because if you can't hit the pitch you hit well, and you showed that you were struggling on all kinds of sliders last night, it's going to be a rough series for them going forward. But we do have to acknowledge that the weirdness of that game is George Springer did strain his oblique. He is not in the lineup for game 4 tonight. That is a massive blow here. Just because on WRC Plus alone, he is in that Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge tier of a hitter this year. And you really kind of felt it as the game wore on. Is I like Ty France, don't get me wrong. I like Davis Schneider, don't get me wrong. But there were no lefties for them to face at a certain point here. So they kind of got screwed. And on top of that, too, it just really hurts the lineup depth, because what makes Toronto so good is Barger and Clement and Kirk. Those are like your 6 hitter, your 7 hitter, your 8 hitter. And now that you have to move everyone up a little bit, the lineup just gets that little bit weaker. There's a little bit of a place where you can catch your breath. When you're swimming in the ocean, yeah, you could really just drown out there. But if there's that little place where you can stand on your tippy toes and catch your breath, that is huge. And I think this Dodger pitching staff has that little place where they can catch their breath. And I think it's going to show in a big way tonight. Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, we're looking at him tonight. I'm really interested what kind of leash they give him tonight. Is, for the most part, aside from Klein, no one really had a heavy workload out of the bullpen. So for the most part, arms are going to be fresh. I don't think Sasaki is going to go more than an inning tonight if he pitches at all. I think it really has to be a high leverage situation or just a 1-run game in the 9th with, Lucas, Bichette, and Guerrero coming at you. Other than that, I think they have to save Sasaki for a game 5, because if they lose tonight, game 5 is pivotal, especially with the series shifting back to Toronto. So I expect Shohei to really come after the hitters tonight. Again, I think you're going to see a little bit more four-seam fastball usage than you were expecting before this one. But Shohei has so many off-speed pitches that he could really take the Yamamoto approach of heavy splitter first time through the lineup, heavy sweeper second time through the lineup, heavy curveball third time through the lineup, while mixing in fastballs and seeing, like, was it an aberration, or can this team actually not hit the four-seamer anymore? So I'm expecting 6-7 from Shohei tonight. I'm not going to say a ridiculous, huge strikeout number, like 10 or even like 8 strikeouts. No 6-7 strikeouts. Maybe 6. But in the most clumsy transition of all time, if you do feel more confident in me about Shohei's strikeout line or anything in this game, really, you can bet it with our sponsor, Boom Fantasy. Use code RTP to get a risk-free bet up to $100. It is the best way to support everything we do here at the Run the Play Network. And I implore you, please gamble responsibly. But really, he's not going to strike out a lot of people here. The Freddie under half a single, I would take the over on that one just because his bat-to-ball skills is starting to come back a little bit here. I think he's singling tonight. No, I'm not going to do a live parlay for you guys. Maybe at the end of this, we'll see. But just looking at it, I think Shohei is just going to get a lot of weak contact. This is a lineup that does not strike out a lot. So, again, not a lot of strikeouts here. But if he gets a lot of ground balls, that's exactly what this team needs. Ground balls and pop-ups. And I think he is more than capable of doing that tonight. And on top of that, too, last time he pitched, he hit 3 home runs. Again, they're not pitching to him whatsoever. He is right now on a heater. We could talk about the Chris Paul-esque home run he hit in game 1 and how he kind of didn't necessarily look the best in game 2. But right now, at Dodger Stadium, he is absolutely locked the fuck in, man. So he's not seeing anything. So again, it's incumbent on Mookie Betts to really step up in a big way here and really force them to pitch to Shohei here. The bottom of the lineup, Andy Pages is not really doing his thing, but Kike is starting to get a little bit hotter. We'll see. Edman had a good game. If those two can get on and set the table for Shohei, you know John Snyder is not going to allow him to have any chance of doing damage. So Mookie's got to come up in a big, big way. With his glove, he's been fantastic defensively this series. It's not those diving web gems you'll see all over SportsCenter, but those are just rangy plays that the good shortstops make. There's a reason why he's a Gold Glove finalist here. So if we're looking at keys for the rest of the series, I've been harping on this a lot, but can the Blue Jays hit four-seam fastballs? Because I didn't see it in game 3. I think they're going to dip their toe in the water a little bit here. And if they can't hit it, it is completely over here. Because they have already shown, with the exception of one truly awful curveball from Tyler Glasnow, that they can't hit off-speed pitches whatsoever. There's a reason they've been seeing 60% off-speed this entire series. It's not their forte. So if they're struggling with it, this series is over quickly. But if they can, do what they've been doing, did what they did in game 1, and, Shohei can't locate his off-speed stuff, Blake Snell struggles with his command again. I won't say anything bad about Yamamoto because at this point, I think he's going to pitch 12 innings if game 6 goes that far. Because, we forget that man was going to pitch the 19th inning if it went that far. Dog. But, if this Dodgers team cannot locate their breaking stuff, that really plays in Toronto's hands here. But I want to see him touch the four-seamer because, it's going to be rough to see. And then thoughts on Run the Play creator Joseph Silva saying the Dodgers won't be a dynasty. Well, here's the thing. The Dodgers are way smarter than me because I'm a dumbass. And apparently their pitching plan is just hope everybody gets healthy again at the same time. And by God, that plan really worked. I'm still concerned about how they develop their pitching. Don't get me wrong here. Because with the exception of Yamamoto, and Sasaki started to shift his mechanics to more of a lower body focused as opposed to what he was doing earlier. I just don't know if they fully are going to be investing in those guys. Because again, Tyler Glasnow gets all his power from his shoulder. Shohei Ohtani, same thing, power from the upper half, not from the lower half. I want to see him get through a season without pitching injuries. But I am classically PR trained, sir. But they do have a great pitching plan. It worked out this time. Let's just see if they can, I don't want to say get lucky, but execute it again in subsequent Octobers. But that bullpen, man, I don't know what to think of them because they were not great in game 1, and Emmett Sheehan was a little shaky. He was great for the most part, but there were a couple instances where I was worried about him. The bullpen still concerns me. Andrew Freeman is very good at finding bullpen talent. It's just he got bit in the ass by, Tanner Scott, who ironically enough is out with ass surgery. No, that's not because he's bad. He actually got surgery on his butt. So that's why he's not on the World Series roster. Kirby Yates blew up in their face. And then after that, it's just a cavalcade of very, very bad pitchers. Let's just be honest here. So fascinated to see what they do in their bullpen after this. I think if I had to guess what the rotation is next year, Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Sasaki, Sheehan, Gonsolin, River Ryan as your 6th man. I think that works fine. But we'll see how the Dodgers do overall. Blue Jays won't be a dynasty, I'll tell you that much. Especially because I don't think they're going to afford to re-sign Bo Bichette. They got to get, starting pitching because Kevin Gausman is not getting any younger. Max Scherzer is not getting any younger. Trey Savage, though, looks like the real deal. If he gets another start against the Dodgers, I don't know if they figure him out because Seattle did not figure him out in this second start. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But let me know. Actually, before I say this, I'm going to give my predictions here. I think the series is over in 6, quite frankly. Is Toronto's bats. They looked really good in game 1, but that's because, the Dodger pitching could not find the strike zone. So they really got to play Blue Jays baseball. Whereas we're looking at it now, when our pitchers are starting to locate, starting to command, and really mix their pitches well, that's when Toronto gets in a lot of trouble here. So I think they could take one more from the Dodgers. I don't think they can take 2 or even 3 games to win the World Series. There's a reason why this Dodgers team is called one of the greatest of all time, and they're showing it here. I don't want to call it their 2001 Lakers run, but it's kind of close to a 2001 Lakers run. I think Dodgers win this in 6 and clinch on Halloween night. Very, very spooky and a very fitting way to begin the dynasty that idiot Joseph Silva said they would never be. But let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on this series? Who's winning and how many games? Who's your World Series MVP? And more importantly, was Game 3 an all-time? Where does Game 3 rank in your best World Series games of all time? For me, it's number 3, but I can see arguments of it being higher. I don't see it being lower, though. That game was epic, and it took years off my life. So leave the comments. Let me know. Let's get a discussion going down there. If you enjoy the content, go and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Play